Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. Remember as a kid, you'd sit there, look at the sky and say, I wonder how long it's going to be before we see flying cars. Well, how close are we to seeing flying cars that we've speculated about for maybe centuries? I'm not a couple of hundred years old, but I know that other people probably looked up and said that already. In his recent book titled, Dude, Where's My Flying Car? A fascinating look at the past, present, and incredible future of personal mobility, Tim Jackson, the former president and CEO of the Colorado Automobile Dealers Association, you've seen him here many times on CBT News, lends his insight into how far we've come and where we're going. Then your next vehicle might just be a flying car. We're going to learn that today. So, Tim, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule. Congratulations on this incredible book that we're showing right now on the screen. And now you can add, best-selling author to your list of accomplishments in life. So, congratulations.
Yeah, it took a while to get it out the door and to get it to print, but it was a big project, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
Came in at 490 pages.
Okay.
90 plus chapters. 3 sections, the past, present, and future, and 102,000 words of all things. So,
wow.
And one of the things that we point out on the back cover of the book, one of the first mentions or visions of a flying car was by Leonardo da Vinci way back in 1486, and he even designed what the car should look like. I couldn't put that in the book because it's copyright. It has a copyright, of course, but he did envision, and when you think about that, he really was a visionary because we didn't even have bicycles or airplanes or cars or motorcycles or anything back then. So he was jumping ahead of all the other forms of mobility all the way to flying cars. I think in modern terms, the flying car has been our fascination. I can say it has been mine.
Oh, yeah,
over the last
sure.
50 to 60 years,
Yep.
dating back to the Jetsons, of course.
Of course,
On the Jetsons, all of the technology, by the way, the Jetsons was a television show for anybody watching that's not aware of it. It was a television series on ABC in the early 1960s.
Yeah.
And it envisioned, it was a 23 episode series. And it accurately predicted a lot of technologies like flat screen TVs.
Yep.
Video TVs, microwave ovens,
Yep.
elevators, of course, and the flying car. All of the other technologies on the Jetsons have come to fruition, except for the flying car.
Yeah.
And there are over, and this is what blows the mind of a lot of people that I talk to and present to. There are over 200 flying car companies trying to get off the ground with flying cars now, and I've got 22 chapters in the book on those. And by the way, let me just say I've moved from a skeptic to a believer, and I've moved from the basic question of if it will happen to the more immediate question of when it will happen.
Right.
And it's
And
because of where the investments are coming from.
Those companies have some pretty serious investors behind them, don't they?
They really do. And there's
Yeah.
3 broad categories. One is aircraft manufacturers. That's like Boeing and Airbus
Yeah.
and Bell Helicopter and Embraer out of Brazil, followed by the airlines are getting into it, and that's United and Delta and American and JetBlue, plus some of the international carriers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where it comes closer to home, and what really fascinates me because they've never really interacted this way together before, and that's the automakers are now getting into the investment game on these. And so I've got a chapter that's called the top 10 most likely. I've got 22 chapters on 22 different startup companies that I think are potentially viable, or I wouldn't have put them in the book.
Yeah.
But out of those 22, I've got 10 of most likely to succeed. And really, I go out on quite a limb because I've got the 3 most likely to succeed in the 10. And they are getting investment from all 3 of those categories. They're getting investment from the aircraft manufacturer, the airline, and an automaker. One of them is right there where CBT News is in Atlanta. That's Archer Aviation plans to build their flying cars.
Wow.
They picked the location in Covington, Georgia,
Yep.
which is just east of Atlanta, about 20 or 30 miles, I guess.
That's right.
And they've already got the land, and they're already got the plans to build it. Their partners are Boeing and Delta Airlines, and I'm sorry, That's wrong. Boeing and United Airlines and Stellantis, the car company.
Wow.
So Stellantis is advising them on how to build the factory and advising them on building the actual cars.
Sure.
And then Joby is another one, is one to watch, and their investors are Boeing, and there's Delta, and then Toyota. Toyota has almost $1 billion in Joby, so much so they have a seat on the board, and they're helping in the design studio.
It's interesting that these airline companies are investing, because you would think that they, if anything, that they wouldn't want to see something like this get passed or get built and be successful. I guess maybe the thinking is get in on the ground floor and own some of that mobility as well.
Right. It's well, where these are being placed in the urban, it's called urban air mobility. UAM is the acronym.
Okay.
We'll have to get used to that terminology.
Yeah.
That's what these will fill as far as like a flying taxi service.
Okay.
So you would go to a central location, say in Duluth or in downtown Atlanta or in one of the suburbs in Covington, say, and then fly over
the airport.
To the airport, and they would take you right. And this is why the airlines are so interested. They want to fly you right into where the your long haul jet is going to go out of.
Gotcha.
So they won't drop you at the terminal. They'll take you right to the concourse, and you'll get off the flying car and onto your long haul jet.
So the book is out now. What do you want the biggest takeaway to be from the book? What are you trying to do with the book? Is to educate the public that flying cars are a real thing. They're here. They're going to be part of our future, and here's what you need to know about them?
Yeah, there's a lot packed into this book, and I've had people say I tried to pack too much into it. There is that history of how bicycles, technology became cars and motorcycles and planes, and the interaction between them. Like Orville Wright sold a plane to Henry Ford, who knew, and delivered it to him in Dearborn, Michigan.
Did not know that.
Henry Ford said, "Well, I want the plane, but I don't want to fly it. I'll hire pilots, because I want to have a professional pilot flying me."
Yeah.
But today, the main airport in Dearborn, Michigan, is still the Henry Ford Airport. So to have some of that, there's a lot of interactive history that even a lot of us in the auto industry, things that I didn't know. Here's one for you. You probably know, and I did know too, that Orville and Wilbur Wright in Dayton, Ohio, had a bicycle shop before they built the plane that they flew at Kitty Hawk. But did you know they also had a car dealership? So they were car dealers and they had a bike shop, and they were building planes.
Wow, I did not know that.
Those are things that are in the book. And this Joby that I mentioned a minute ago, that's invested in by Boeing, Delta Airlines, and Toyota, they've decided where they're going to build the Jobys. And as a nod to Orville and Wilbur Wright, they are building their facility in Dayton, Ohio.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So let me ask you, for those that are listening to us have this discussion, the $64,000 question, how much will one of these things cost?
No, that's a fair question, and they're all over the map. And another thing we didn't cover and probably should, there's like the Joby and the Archer and the Whisk, they're all moving toward that urban air mobility where you would pay for a ride, but you wouldn't pay for the whole thing. Yeah. So it'd be like, think of it as an Uber or Lyft, but it takes you into the air.
Okay.
And by the way, this evening in Silicon Valley, Lyft is meeting up with Whisk, the VTOL company, to start a partnership. So this is going places in that regard. But I think we've all wanted, and I'll say I personally want, and I imagine you do too.
Yeah.
We want the vehicle that we can land in our driveway and park in our garage. Yep. And I have those in the book too. I think those are not as imminent. I think the Whisk and the Joby and the Archer, you're going to see those coming on board over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, and faster than you might think.
Yeah.
And there's contracts being executed on those to make that happen. But we ultimately want to get to where we can land a vehicle in our driveway, park it in our garage. And there's one called the Jetson One Jetpack, as a nod to the Jetsons TV show. It's actually a company out of Switzerland, and they're going to build them in southern Italy. But it's so light that it's only 190 pounds.
Oh my God.
And the one on Jetson One Jetpack means one person. So you could fly in it, or I could fly in it, but we both couldn't fly in it.
Yeah.
So you have your Jetson One, and I have my Jetson One, and then we can go to airborne and go to the same place and do it pretty fast. They've got a range of about 100 miles. They will travel about 60 to 70 mile an hour, and they're pricing it. That's a long answer to your question, but they're pricing it at $98,000, and that's pretty affordable, really, when you think of all the fun you could have with it. I wouldn't want to pay that much for it, but I think I would today to have one.
That's right. Tim Jackson, former president and CEO of Colorado Automobile Dealers Association, as I mentioned earlier, now soon to be a best-selling author with Dude, Where's My Flying Car? We're showing a picture of it right now. You can click the link right below this interview that you're watching and get your own copy, which I highly recommend that you do. And so, Tim, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is exciting stuff, and we're so happy for you.
Thanks so much, Jim. Good to talk to you.
Thanks.